Michigan doing the unthinkable.
Huge potential here.
He gets one, he gets two.
That is beautiful, beautiful front to back right there.
Up 3-1 Eastern. Looking good, feeling good. Life is good. Welcome back, EMU fans. It's time for more Overwatch. It's only been like, what, 48 hours?
Something like that. Yeah.
And I need it. I need it.
Oh, man, I'm
in
craving.
my veins. Winston.
Yeah,
Got
definitely.
liquid Winston in my veins.
I bet we'll see him today, at least one time.
I hope so.
For us, right?
More
For
Winston.
us.
You know, and I always talk about Winston, but he's not my favorite character. My favorite character is the Reaper guy.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So
Someone
we've
in
got
chat too. Yeah, this random. Who is that? Glav on.
some great fans in the chat already. You know,
It's so great to see the support, guys.
yeah,
we really appreciate it over
you know,
here.
if nobody got me, I know I got me.
That's a good. You know what? I don't think you know how psychologically healthy that really is. That's great.
It is.
Yeah, you always got to help yourself, right?
I can say it. You know, we'll get there.
Yeah,
we'll get there
for sure.
Anyway, we've got a great stream for you guys today. Some Overwatch to start the day and end the day. Only one stream today.
Yeah, that's okay.
But we're against Miami, Ohio in the old Overwatch today. And then next week, next stream, we're against Akron University in Overwatch one more time. And then October 1st, Halloween month, yay. We are seeing Ohio again in Rocket League. And then followed up the next day by Overwatch against Buffalo University. And then week after, we have one more match of Overwatch against Ball State on the 7th there. I'm very excited for October. I've already decorated my apartment.
I can't wait. I mean, this is a great schedule. There's going to be so many amazing games. So I think this is one of the best months we can have for competitive Overwatch.
Absolutely. So let's take a quick look at our standings, and we will see what has changed since last time. It looks like Ball State is still going strong right now at 5-0, followed by Kent State 4-1, Ohio University 3-0. Is that correct? Has Ohio University had 2 buys?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, cool. Followed up by Bowling Green and Northern Illinois, both 3-2. Akron 2-2, Central Michigan 2-3, Miami, Ohio 1-2, and Buffalo 1-3. And unfortunately, we are down with Western 0-4 and 0-5, respectively. But you know what? It changes today.
I think it does change today. Yeah, I'm definitely hopeful there. And look, when you look at standings like this, you got to be realistic about your team goals, right? About what we want to do, what we want to get out there. And all I know is that we are still trying as hard as we possibly can.
Absolutely.
These players are so committed to continuing to thrive and really sticking to their VODs, really sticking to the training, and that's the best part. That's the part we're here to watch. We're here to see everybody's improvement. We're here to see plays get made. We're here to see week after week things get done, and we have seen that, and I think we will see that today.
Absolutely, always about that improvement. It's always winnable, always winnable. But it's going to be a great game tonight. I in my head, Miami, Ohio was one of the stronger teams, but it looks like they're actually a little bit closer to us in standing right now. So we'll see what happens. I know that everybody's been doing a lot of improvement. I've been talking to Suji a little bit. He's saying that everybody on the team is doing really well with improvement, and we're looking up. Everybody's rising together.
Yeah, definitely.
It's awesome. But not much has changed in the old world of Overwatch in the last 48 hours.
No, it's kind of difficult for things to come through that quick. Of course, Tuesday is normally patch days. We didn't get a patch.
No.
So we don't have too much to change.
But you know what did drop yesterday?
What's that?
Lore.
Oh, yeah?
Lore drop, guys.
Brand new lore?
Not just like character building, like background lore and everything. Actual story progression lore.
I haven't heard it. You gotta tell it. You gotta say it here.
New comic just released.
Okay.
And you may or may not have played the missions when they came out.
Sure. Yep.
RIP missions. I enjoyed them, but they are now apparently unplayably broken.
Yeah.
I think if you pick Tracer, you just die on cooldown. It just kills you. But new comic just launched, following up directly from where the missions left off.
Okay.
So if you remember, the end of the last mission ended with Zenyatta meditating and Talon coming in and confronting him. So this comic picks up, and it's a Ramatra comic. Oh,
Nice.
I love Ramatra.
So that's why they nerfed him, is because they knew
Exactly.
this was coming. To, it's kind of like how they always buff the hero who gets the mythic skin, right? This
Yeah,
is the
yeah, yeah.
opposite of that. They give the lore to the hero who they've
Exactly.
made play so much worse, just to kind of balance it out.
You saw too much of it in gameplay, so now they get balance out the lore.
Yeah.
I might actually even take that trade. Like, I love Ramatra. I love playing with Ramatra, but that character, ooh, I love him so much. But the TLDR is that Ramatra and Zenyatta had a very long conversation, calling each other brothers. Still, their lore is they started as brothers under Mandata. Ramatra became disillusioned with Mandata's vision, blah, 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 did Null Sector, all of that, turned into a worldwide terrorist. And they're now butting heads about what the best direction forward for the Omnic race is.
Yep.
Ramatra's brainwashing everybody, saying that he's saving them, but it looks like everybody's dead. All that stuff. But it's just a little scrap. It's just a little scrap.
It's amazing. I completely love stuff like that in Overwatch.
I love it. I cannot wait for them to bring back the 3D animations, because I believe game director Aaron Keller, has gone on record as saying that they don't consider the game firing on all cylinders until those shorts are back.
100%. Yeah. I mean, those
they're so
were
good.
But beyond the state of gaming in the game when Overwatch 1 first released, I mean, it's so rare to see a multiplayer game like that win Game of the Year, but it did, just because of its pure amazingness. But the best part was that it wasn't just a game, right? It was a whole world.
Yes.
Like, releasing those shorts, letting people get sneak peeks into the characters, seeing what they can do, seeing what's on the line for them, has really it really invigorated people to get devoted to Overwatch, and especially something that was so potent in the hero shooter genre.
Yep.
When people play a hero shooter, it's not like the classes we had back in the day with like old Call of Duty, where it's like, this is my class. It's like, it's about who you literally are.
Yep.
All the characters' personalities show throughout their first person FOV and all that stuff, and all that definitely connects to the player experience, and it's something we've been missing for quite a long time.
Absolutely.
But it's a great sign that they're doing comics and stuff like this and showing that they're still interested in it.
Yes, I know that they're still interested. There was some corporate crap going on that made it go away. I really hope they bring it back at some point. But you mentioned sneak peeks of characters.
Yeah.
And you know what was in one of the panels of the comic?
Well, tell me.
A silhouette of the upcoming hero.
I did see this, actually.
I
saw this.
You probably saw that screenshot, but not the full comic.
Yeah. Exactly.
I believe it's a DPS. I don't know if we have that confirmed, but I think it's rumored to be a DPS. That is going to be largely melee based.
Yeah.
Looks like they've got a big old bronze
Yeah.
broadsword. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And they look really interesting. Maybe affiliated with Talon, another Talon character.
Yeah.
I'm interested. They got teased a while ago with the launch of Stadium. There was like the model of their sword on one of the maps, and it had like, what are we on now? Like Hero 45, I think it is.
It might even be more. It's something like 40. Yeah, there's a lot of heroes. But this is really cool. And if it does turn out that this is sort of a melee-based DPS character, it's kind of like Doom Part 2, right? Let's try a second time with Doom.
I would argue Doom Part 3. Welcome back, Venture Overwatch.
Yeah. That works too. But there's so many people that say that they miss old Doom, that they thought old Doom was better. I obviously, as you know, I'm a tank Doom lover. But I will always maintain that, is it annoying when Tank Fist flies across the map in 1 second and CCs you and then meteor strikes to get away? Yeah, it's annoying. Is it more annoying than you trying to push Eichenwald and in one instant Doomfist, who's been hovering up in the ceilings for 35 seconds, slams down, uppercuts you, and you're gone? No way is it worse than that. That was a tough situation for players to face.
It was unhealthy for the game.
Definitely.
No, I don't want to go back to that. Overwatch Classic is running right now, and so old Doom is kind of back in the game, at least in arcade. Don't recommend it.
No, definitely not. But
not a fun
the
time.
idea behind a fighting game inspired melee based character does seem pretty fun. And I think there are examples of this even in other games where I think people generally think like Magic and Marvel Rivals is a pretty fun example of a melee DPS character, you know, with some survivability, some escape. And I think we're already seeing a few of those similarities. Again, we have very little information to go off of here. Basically just a weapon and a silhouette. But if it's at all anything similar, giving a hero the ability to kind of be up close, a damage dealer that wants to kind of hurt, so very similar in vein to Reaper, where he's got his life steal for sustain. Maybe we have another sustain option that isn't straight mobility and isn't straight, you know, invulnerability, which players tend to not receive as well.
Yeah, you say that, and it brings to mind another character, another melee character that when you have a character that needs to get close in melee like that, you need to give them some tool to survive, something that makes them able to get on the front line and actually able to be that close, especially in a hero shooter where there's so much range. You may remember a little character called Release Brigida.
Yeah.
Where there was maybe a little bit of over-tuning. I'm really hoping that doesn't happen again. I don't think it will. I don't think it will.
Right.
Release Brigida is, I think, not just notorious in the Overwatch community, but just the gaming community at large.
Yeah, I don't think
broken.
think it would be an understatement at all to say Release Brigida has informed the way that almost every new hero shooter character is released, right? I think it's the example that, like you said, people that don't even really play Overwatch call as an example as an unhealthy release, right?
Yep.
And it kind of sets a standard. You know, now Overwatch devs are kind of very open to us, and they kind of explain what their thought process is, and they've told us that when they release new heroes, they like to go on the safe side of strong, right? Like they want to be good. If we need to tone them back a bit, it's okay, but we want it, you know, but not OP, you know? And I think to the most part, they've stuck with that pretty well. Certain heroes may have been slightly underwhelming. Certain heroes have been maybe slightly better, but I don't think no disaster has ever struck like the Release Brigida kind of has too. So I'm frankly confident, not only since, you know, the mistake has already been made, but that we're already following a great cycle of where we don't really come to expect mistakes like that anymore. Yeah, there's definitely been some missteps on some of, especially the earlier characters in Overwatch 2. I don't remember if I was talking about this on stream or who I was talking about with. But you can kind of tell if you look at the characters that released around the beginning of Overwatch 2, which characters were designed kind of by the old guard of Overwatch 1, and that they'd been kind of sitting in the vault ready for Overwatch 2, and which characters the new team that didn't have as much experience kind of had to grapple with and design from scratch. With, you know, Kiriko, Junker Queen, Sojourn coming on release of Overwatch 2. I think those characters had been locked and loaded for a long time. We know Sojourn was because she was voice acted, fully modeled, everything all the way back in Archives. But then we saw Ramatra, and Ramatra was again teased in Archives. Those characters are very polished, haven't seen a lot of Ramatra has a big kit, right? He's got a form change, he's got all of this, and it all feels very smooth and fluid to do. I believe the character directly after Ramatra was the first, from what I can tell, Overwatch 2 designed character, Lifeweaver. You may remember Lifeweaver's launch was not great. That was a bit before the safe side of strong.
Little
too safe, maybe.
Not even how weak he was with his kit and his damage and healing, but just how clunky he felt. That they completely redid his control scheme. And we haven't seen anything like that before or since. And I would say that as the characters have released, they've gotten steadily stronger in design, stronger in kit, just like how well their kit is designed, not necessarily actual strength. But just, you can tell that the new team behind Overwatch is much more on their feet. And now we have Juno is a awesome design character, really like design-wise, like character and kit and all of that is really well put together. And so I'm very interested to see what the new character looks like. Our Twitch chat is telling us that it's a tank. I was wrong before,
and I'm fine with that. To be honest, I think that works just as well. Probably a better sort of fit for that melee kind of character. That melee role. It just gets tricky when you're in the damage role. There's sort of an expectation that there's a lot of burst, that there's a lot of strength, but if you build too much into sustain in that, that can cause some issues.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, the only other time that I can think of that a hero release came close to release Brig was not release Mauga, but like 1 or 2 patches after his release.
Yeah.
He came out like late December. They hotfixed him, and then the devs went on holiday break. And that was a bad time to play Overwatch.
It was rough.
That was rough.
I was in the middle of a season then, and let me tell you, it's the teams that you don't think are going to swing out on Mauga definitely did. He was just at a point where his overhealth leech was just so intense, right? There was essentially no bad matchup for him. Anybody on the front line he could shred. Didn't matter if it was Zarya, didn't matter whatever. It was just your green health bar just exploding upwards. We also saw a very tricky compositions, like people would run that kind of thing with this may have been a bit later, but with Venture, right? Going with the Mauga slam to Venture dig combo. That's 2 damage, 2 different sources. Absolutely blew up teams and backlines. And Mauga is that guy that he can just live in your backline for a little bit sometimes. If you don't have the exact coordination or the exact turn to go get him, he will do whatever he wants.
And it's the tanks typically have been defining the meta for a while, unless there's some like support or DPS that's really, really needing to be reined in. It's typically designed around the tanks. But we see that a lot of these metas are kind of swirling around what tank can just live the best.
Yeah.
And so Mauga in that meta, he just didn't die. He just didn't. His shout was on a super low cooldown. It had a really big uptime. It also kept his team alive because he still had the aura. His numbers were just too much. And now with this past season, we saw Ramatra just not dying, and so he was a must pick for everything. I mean, the armor bug just broke him.
Yeah, definitely.
We've seen it with Orisa. Orisa just being able to absorb so much, and then she got put in the ground. And I think we're seeing a little bit of that with Ball right now. Not a fan of playing against Ball and getting my backline slammed, and then just seeing a Ball roll away with 1,500 health. Not a great time. So it's always that weird, like, kind of knife's edge of tanks should be able to tank and shouldn't blow up, because it feels really bad when you do as a tank.
Definitely.
But you can't have a tank that's unpunishable.
Yeah, definitely. And we kind of have a great in-game measuring system for this too, which is when those tanks do reach a point of survivability that is unhealthy, that is unfair, well, we don't traditionally see people go with like rush comps with that. We see them go poke because they can send their tank out so far and they won't die. So you can afford to run Sojourn, you can afford to run Ashe, you can afford to run Widow or Freya or any of these characters that happily, swing wide, take lots of space to look for angles. And, normally the tanks that you would associate with kind of a play style like that play back are not always the most effective. Sigma isn't going to be the best at getting your DPS in position all the time if there's another tank whose option is just running at the team and forcing them back, right?
Yep.
So, and I think that's something we see a lot too, is when we see these Mauga comps run out and then we see something like Lucio Soj run with it, well, that tells us that Lucio's job probably isn't to heal up that Mauga.
Yeah, you're not going Lucio to try to get your Mauga up to 100% health. But it sounds like we are ready to start getting into our game here. It looks like we're going off of Lijiang Tower. Have we seen Lijiang?
Not since the first game. It could have been. We weren't here, so it could have been. But I think we saw Samoa last week and Ilios before that, I think.
Yeah. Again, our map pool is Ilios, Lijiang, and Samoa. And I think we've said this literally every stream, but all three of those very strong competitive control maps. But yeah, I mean, Lijiang is a classic. I love Lijiang.
Lijiang's
great.
It's so much fun. Great variety, great pathing, a lot of freedom for these teams, but it's also very manageable. There are some capture points that feel hard to defend or feel hard to kind of take a stance on, but I think despite Lijiang's fluidity, there is still sort of an obvious course of action when it comes to where are we going to hold, where are we going to defend against all these kind of things once we are holding a choke. It's still pretty intuitive, which makes it a really great option for teams that are looking to kind of sniff each other out and see what's going on.
Yeah, one of the funniest things about Lijiang, in my opinion, is that that map is one of the only times that you'll see these high-ranked, high elo, well-coordinated teams pull out the silly pick of Junkrat.
Yeah,
because Lijiang Control Center with those hallways, very narrow, very kind of cramped sight lines.
Yeah.
You can just be throwing your bombs down there and just deny an entire passageway because they've got to walk through it. And seeing, in higher elo and organized gameplay, we see a lot of the same characters. A lot of Cassidy, a lot of, you don't see a lot of Bastion these days. You don't see a lot of that much Torbjorn, Junkrat, kind of the more
slower paced DPS.
The typically lower skill ceiling characters that you might see a lot more in your average gold, plat, bronze games. And it's fun to see characters like that typically don't have a lot of the same skill expression that somebody like a Cassidy, who all of his skill expression is just on aiming, positioning, all of that. It's interesting to see very high skilled players play those characters.
Yeah, because of course there is still skill expression there, right? There's skill expression to be had on these sort of unique off-meta heroes. It just doesn't often, turn out that those are the most effective heroes in a lot of instances. But it is great when we do have maps, beloved maps that teams like to pick that do allow for so much variety. It's incredible as a spectator, but even as a player too, having options always feels better than feeling like you've got one comp that you've practiced and that's the only thing you can run out on, right?
Yep. And that's what happens when the game gets stale.
Yeah.
That's what we saw at the end of Overwatch 1, and the long gulf between Overwatch 2 was that double shield comp.
Yes, exactly.
It was boring. It was just it was boring to play, boring to watch, boring to play into, just not great. But we are ready to see some Overwatch. Let's see what's going on here. We are going to be TPing out on our classic Zarya comp. Otzel on that Zarya, Aurora on the Cassidy, Nyx and Rose on the Kiri-Lu, and I am assuming Rage is just going for the TP and then probably giving us our Reaper.
See, yep, makes a lot of sense. There it is, teleporting in.
And for once, we are seeing a mirror comp here, actually completely identical. So this is really just going to be down to whichever team plays it the better.
Starting off with some early aggression here. We're trying to survive, but this Zarya is trying to melt our backline and look right past Otzel on the front. Nyx is unfortunately going to fall to the enemy Lucio on the flank there.
And it's just that early aggression is really difficult to deal with. We did get a lot of charge up on Otzel there, but when you don't have many bubbles and you go down even one character, even just your Lucio, it's really difficult to re-swing and make use of that charge. We are going in for a good TP here, and it looks like Rage is trying to peel back and just get that Mega so that we can sustain. All about just living here, build up that charge, and if we're counting those bubbles, we should be able to punish.
Yeah, definitely. So it was a really good kite first. We're all here back for the second fight, setting out the poke. Amazing coordination from Otzel and Rage. Going in a second time, unfortunately, the TP was missed, but the bubble is going to come out to soak some damage. Rose finds a headshot, though, in the middle of all of it, meaning it is even, and it is possible to turn around to something like this.
And we are going to be up our flex support, so if we just stack stable slow, we might be able to do it. But Rose does get run down by that Zarya. But we do trade out the enemy Reaper as well. We might be able to make something of this. Both rushes starting to come up, but Miami, Ohio beating us by a little bit. We're probably going to see an early rush and grab here out of Miami, Ohio.
Wouldn't be surprised. Rage is in the back there with the bubble, and it's going to fade out. Aurora manages to find the kill onto their Lucio. They send out the grab. We managed to find the Zarya, but their Reaper's just going to be able to clean us up that immobile. the mobilizing grab was just a little bit too tricky there. We have all the picks, right? We have all the parts that we need to make this work, and we are going to be still even in ultimates here, which is a really good situation to be in.
And now it was really unfortunate that Nyx came up on that beat just after that grab hit. If we had gotten that beat on time for that, we probably would have been able to sustain and re-swing. But I see our grab. I see no beat on the enemy team. We might be able to trade it back to them. But unfortunately, Otzel is going to get rushed down in the enemy Kiri's rush. And we are just going to need to back out and reset. But the fade doesn't get us out, and Rage is also going to go down. We've got to make some kind of play here. We're sitting on 4 ults. And unfortunately, Nyx is also going to go down, getting picked late.
You know, in all of Lijiang Tower, this is one of the more difficult choke points to burst out of, especially if you are reliant on a comp like this that doesn't really necessarily have the mobility needed to get other places. A good touch attempt by Rage there, but they're going to Miami, Ohio's going to go ahead and take the first map.
And you know that was a lot of micro stuff happened there, a lot of little stuff. Having us just shoved in that choke the whole time makes it really easy for that Zarya to just be right-clicking us.
Definitely.
And Otzel is taking a lot of damage just trying to get out there, and it's so much pressure when we're focusing all of their firepower through there. And there's not really a whole lot more that Otzel can do. I mean, he's already burning both bubbles, just trying to peek. I think what we really need to do is we need to take an off angle and just alleviate some of that pressure. Send our Nyx and Aurora on the Lucy Cass over on to across the hallway.
Yeah.
Relieve some of that pressure. Maybe we can get a swing there.
Absolutely. And as far as ultimates are concerned, the margins were razor thin. You know, it's so difficult when we don't have the opportunity to swing and kind of get that ult charge. But now we do. A little bit of a more open map, more open space where Cassie might have some time to go in. 1 bubble spent on Rage, going to get us some progress there. Looks like they are cornering us and coming from both angles. Unfortunately, we're going to get stopped in the left room there, traditionally used for a bit of cover. They're going to wipe us just before they take the first point. All things considered, though, not too bad. The percentage they're going to get off of this isn't going to be as much as the rest of the fight, so I'm excited to see us come back.
Absolutely. I think what we need to see here is we're coming up about the same speed as the enemy team. We're both TPing out, we're both speeding out, but we're stutter stepping a bit. We're letting them take that space, and once we're on the back foot and we're not just absolutely going in and matching their aggression, it's really hard for us to come back in a mirror comp like this. And that's going to be a big pick out of Otzel on that Reaper. If we're able to just stack and wait, we should be able to slowly walk on that point. Reaper is a big pick.
Extremely good control there to get that Reaper out of there. We are going to advance onto the point now. High Noon's going to try and take some space, I guess, as it comes around the corner, but looks like our not going to be able to find a kill there.
And Otzel is going to go down to that enemy Kiri rush. Rose quickly follow by the rest of the team, and Nyx is not able to get out. That was unfortunate. We were able to get that early Reaper pick was big, but just getting zoned by that enemy Cass's High Noon means we can't peek. They're able to kind of slow and restabilize and swing with their full charge Zarya.
Yeah, Miami, Ohio doing a great job of keeping the backline really far from their Zarya, making it hard to walk past and get those picks. The Zarya playing super far forward, being able to sustain with that Kiriko is really nice. And unfortunately, our DPS are going to fall in the back as we try and rotate over just a little bit too quick. The Lucio's, man, they'll get you. They'll get your team there.
Absolutely. Getting Rage TP'd in early there, and I don't know if we didn't get the bubble or if the bubble just popped immediately, but we just vanished. That it always feels rough when you TP in and you either are out of range of your Zarya or you mistime the bubble and you just get blown up for it. And the grab is going to come out of Miami, Ohio, followed by our B. We are able to sustain. We are touching point. Rage is able to get it. Aurora with the High
finds
Noon.
The pick. Super important here as we swing. Trying to look for other picks. Nyx unfortunately falls, but it's still even. We've managed to find Sire. Their Cassidy is down. Their Lucio is low. Another kill by Aurora. Amazing shot. And another nade onto the Reaper is going to bring us up enough people to capture this point as only the Kiriko remains. Gonna try and teleport out, but Otzel's got bubble to keep Rage alive during this, and it's Otzel and Rage against the world on the point here.
Absolutely, and that was a big play from Aurora. Those were some good picks. The whole team swinging together. That was just a desperation touch out of Rage, and it worked. A big grab coming out, but answered by the enemy Lucio's beat is just not going to be enough out of our Reaper ult to burn through all of that overhealth. And we are just answered by too many ultimates coming back, and we're not able to keep control of that objective. And that is going to be map 1 for Miami, Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot to consider as we look into the positioning-wise things, right? You know, I think this team is a team that's really comfortable having the point, which might sound silly at first, but, you know, there is a way to play around having point control. And I think they just did it so well, right? By sending Zarya super far forward, having your supports back here. I mean, look at this. This Kiriko is completely uncontested, able to just heal, throw kunais, whatever, take away all that space. And that's something that we saw, too, coming into those things. As you said, the teams have teleporting, coming in really close, getting there at the same time, but it's about the speed that gets those characters around and in position to take the fight, which ultimately leads to those imbalances.
Absolutely. And what I've noticed here is that on these exact mirror matches, it's really easy to see that both teams are trying to play the same way, essentially. And so the difference in play style as it comes down to the individual teams is a lot more clear, because, you know, it's easier to see who has better bubble timing, which Reaper's hitting more shots, whose Lucio is speeding at the right time in these. And so something that I noticed is that we're not taking the space appropriately.
Yeah.
We're walking in and we can tell that we're a little scared. And we should be cautious of the enemy team, obviously. But you can see on, especially Lijiang Tower, that specific map, that point of that map, the pillar in kind of that courtyard area is very critical, because that's kind of the only cover
in a very wide area. Yeah,
that's not all the way off of point, and it's not on point. So you've got to kind of control that. Whoever controls that pillar controls that entire courtyard area. And their Zarya is able to make a beeline for it, and in my opinion is actually over-aggressive, and they just walk past it. Typically when I'm playing tank, I try to anchor on that, play around it, find an opportunity to go forward, but that's kind of my safety.
Yeah.
I've noticed that Otzel is playing very, very safe, and it's counterintuitive, because playing safe in this instance actually gets you and your team killed, because the enemy team is able to just walk forward, and you don't have a strong formation set up. You have to give up all of that space because you're worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, hesitation is a death sentence in shooters, right? Quick action is definitely better than no action at all, and is even better than a wrong action, right? If you make a bad play, but you did it quickly, well, at least you're back, you know? So speed really is the name of the game, and I think we have the chance to do it. It can be scary considering that Cassidy and that Kiriko, but our Cassidy and our Kiriko got the picks too.
Absolutely.
On several occasions, we had Rose and we had Aurora go in and get the picks needed as soon as they could speed in there and have the kind of view that they need. So having that confidence and that ability to say we're not going to hesitate, we're going to make the play right away and not spend so much time at the choke point is going to be really important. What they're doing, Miami, Ohio, by sending, you know, the Reaper with the bubbles, is exactly the kind of play we want to make. They can just make it here because we are here.
Yeah.
So once we combine, we can do the exact same thing with the exact same players and just better, and eventually find that middle ground win. But we have to meet in the middle.
Yeah, it's all just this trust that you're going to be able to take that space, that your team is going to take their positions, that you're going to get supported properly by your backline. There's just a lot of trust that has to be there, that I'm going to do my job, everybody else has to do their job.
Yep.
We are looking at King's Row, of course.
Nice.
I don't think we expected anything different.
No.
As well as Kiri and Reaper bans, which is going to be impactful for both teams here. Obviously, we are very much Reaper fans here.
Yeah, definitely. But it seemed like they may have been too. They're going with a bit of a. I mean, it's conventional but unconventional, right? We're seeing like a very classic Winston dive, kind of on the offense here, which is maybe not a super first choice for Kings Row, but it definitely can work. Maybe it's just not my first choice. Amazing shot hit by Aurora there, pressuring that Genji, keeping him 1 health. They are swinging for the high ground, and we are swinging around too.
And longtime viewers of EMU Esports will actually kind of recognize what the enemy team is doing here. And that's a big pick out of Rage on the enemy Sojourn. Are we able to stack and stable and wait for... Oh, that's a big lamp, Rose. Be safe there. We'll recognize what is going on with the enemy team. Playing that Winston on first point and just rotating across that high ground puts so much pressure. And that is going to be a pick out of the enemy onto Aurora, and Rose getting taken down as well, followed by Nyx. And we're just going to have to either hide or die here. Rage able to hide and maybe trying for the touch, but is unfortunately going to be found out.
Yeah, so difficult to counter push there, even with the pick when they have that high ground control. The Winston very clearly meant to escort these high damage dealing characters, Ana included, to the high ground to look for those picks. So, and I think that's what we're seeing, and that's what their plan is. Staying the Zarya here, I think, is fine. We can do it. We just need to be really cognizant of which space we're taking, and does that include where the Winston wants to set up? Yeah,
and it's a big pick, a big switch out of the Genji here. The Genji diving into that enemy team, not going to be a good time, especially into
Winston, so difficult.
Into that Winston, not a good play. But that Torbjorn is going to have a much better time against both that Winston and that Genji. That turret can really deal with that Genji if he tries to go for a dive. Torbjorn is basically just Reaper. That's a lot of damage that comes out, especially with Overload. On those right clicks.
And uniquely hard to dive too. The ability to give yourself overhealth and fire rate speed in an instant is really scary to people who want to try and isolate you. That Nano Winston's going to come in and go right for our backline though. Otzel trying to protect as many people as he can, but he only has 2 bubbles. Unfortunately, that team is going to fall very quickly to that very, very damage boosted Lightning. We do still have Otzel alive in the back here. I can't tell if it's a stagger or if he's just the survivability goat, but it looks like they are trying to get him to respawn a little differently, and he does manage to take himself out with a right click against the shield there, which is very good. Rage falling slightly after an unfortunate stall.
Those are going to be some big staggers. It means that we're not going to be able to really mount a good defense for even probably this first corner of third point here. But that Winston can kind of just ignore our Zarya. I think their whole intent is to just go past our Zarya. We've got to be really good about those bubbles, and we only have 2 of them. You can't bubble your entire backline, and if they're counting our bubbles, that's a rough matchup.
Some coordination from Miami, Ohio, sending in Winston, who's going to pop the Primal Rage as the Sojourn ult pops. Sojourn doesn't manage to find one, but they get 2, and unfortunately that's just not the spot you want to be in when it comes to Winston Ultimate. In a corner there is very, very difficult.
And that's the famous Baptiste survivability that we see there, just taking basically an entire Primal in a corner by himself. Difficult to get through, but pretty much every ult in the game coming out all at once just to try to get a touch. A big blade coming out of Miami, Ohio. Aurora able to get up on the high ground and getting some, or that's not Aurora, that's Sire. Getting some big picks as we're trying to retouch and not able to contest our third point here.
I think tempo is definitely the key word here, right?
Yep.
This is a composition that relies on being very far forward. The Winston, of course, I'm referring to, right? But having that connection with that backline that just makes it so difficult to touch. I mean, forget about dealing with their on Brig when we barely saw them, right?
Yep.
That Sojourn so far forward, taking the aggressive high ground angle. Winston diving in basically all the time, right? With that healing, with Nano, with Primal. There were several fights in a row where Winston goes super deep, and even with proper coordination from us, even with bubbles, it's just so difficult to shut that down with the support that he has.
Winston is actually a deceptively strong pick on Kings Row that a lot of people I don't think really appreciate. Second point can be a bit of a hard place for him because there is so little high ground for him to abuse.
Yeah.
But first point, I love playing Winston. It was actually an EMU JV bread and butter that we would reliably take first point by just doing a very specific Winston rotation that actually back on JV when Rose was playing tank, she was referred to as a Korean Winston.
Nice. That's one of the
rotation
highest Winston honor you can have, right?
It really is. That rotation was so well practiced, and we've done it, and that's pretty much what Miami, Ohio has done to us. And we can see we're both switching up our team comp. We are also going to be running that Winston. And I like it, but it's going to be a little bit of a hard matchup into that Hazard.
Definitely hard. Definitely something we maybe weren't expecting to see. Oh,
big Rage! Nice job, Rage.
First pick, 2 headshots right off the bat, sending more toes to that Sojourn, hoping that she can't find it. And
big
that
sleep.
is a slept Hazard who is now dead. That's 2 picks down, 1 pick for them. Unfortunately, Aurora falls to the wall, but it looks like we should have at least a couple percentage points here on the first objective.
Absolutely, and that's a lot of them up there. Finding the Anna Brig and the Sojourn all just hiding high ground. If we can get them to just give up that high ground, we might be able to lock down first point here. Huge picks from Rage and a huge sleep out of Rose to begin the fight. But going into the next fight, that Hazard is going to be coming in, giving us problems, but taken out by Otzel. Nice job. Very difficult matchup to play into.
Otzel manages to find the pick, and look, this Anna Brig is definitely scary, but not scarier than Otzel, cleaning up the back line, holding a front here. Looks like they're going to go into the Orisa off of Hazard, which is basically saying, okay, you want to shoot something, you can shoot me. This is turning into a brick wall. They're losing the mobility that Hazard has in exchange for someone that's really, really hard to kill with Winston's Tesla gun.
And you know what? I think we just need to do exactly what they just did to us. Just ignore that Orisa. She's not really going to catch too many of our team out. If our Winston can just go in and get on that Anna Brig, or no longer an Anna Brig, switching to the Wuyong, we might be able to make something happen here. We can just keep boxing out that Orisa. She's already low health, but the Nano comes out on the Genji, and it is going to take out Rose. Followed up by Aurora and Nyx. That's just going to be a big Nano out of Miami, Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, sending Nano Boost off cooldown is a really, really surefire way to get the fight in there. I think we had the right idea, honestly. I liked staying really aggressive from Otzel there. Oh, big anti-nade gets a couple of us in spawn. It's okay, we'll recover from that pretty quickly. They won't have it quite as soon for this next fight here. But we do have some ultimates coming up, and so do they, but not immediately available. I wonder if we'll be able to take advantage of this sort of imbalance here and really rush past this choke point that's given us difficulty in the past by unleashing some of these ultimates and getting some momentum going.
For sure. The big switch from Otzel onto the Zarya, just deciding, you know what, I'm comfortable on the Zarya. I know what we need to do. We're going to play a counter into their tank, pulling out that high noon, but it's not going to find anybody. The lava coming out and the enemy Brig rally. The lava picking the Sojourn. Otzel taking out that Genji. It's anybody's fight right now, and we are going to be able to take some space with it. Popping 3 ults for it, but you know what? You can't take him with you. So, unfortunately, that's going to be a big Terra Surge, and we are going to have to back up. That was an unfortunate turn of events right there.
These Ana nades are giving us a lot of trouble. Less so than their placement and their landing is the follow-up that's coming instantly. Having a Genji dive 3 people in the backline back out like that is dubious at best, but when they're all purple and you know you can get those dash resets, it actually becomes advantageous. It's something you want to take to be able to finish all those, and even if you die in the back, that amount of pressure on people who can't heal is immense. We need to be cognizant of that and save bubbles so that it becomes less hard on the people that we need to swing, which are DPS.
And this is a reminder that we did ban Kiri, so neither team can get that cleanse going, which would be really helpful right now. The Wuyong ult coming out, but the Nano also coming out. We're able to sustain through that Wuyong ult and just stabilize long enough, just live Otzel. Aurora unfortunately getting taken down, followed by Otzel. But I think we just need to stabilize a little stronger there. We lived through that Wuyong ult, but we kept stepping forward. We gotta just like absorb it, get our cooldowns back, and then re-swing. Just a little too aggressive.
Yeah, it's so scary there. You kind of have to make a decision when you approach a choke point like this, right? The long game will always be won by the team that has all these extra things. Uh-oh, and it looks like they're setting up for a sneaky nade Genji play. I wonder if we're privy to it. We may not be. Nade is going to Brig. Genji's getting nanoed. Going to go and get and find that kill in the back. Looking to find Ana now. We do have him antied, but that nano Genji's just so much damage, man. It's a tall order for anybody.
And that's just going to be a Genji hero play, honestly. Just swinging before we're even in position from that high ground there. and hard to scout that, hard to know that it's coming. It was obviously very coordinated getting on our Brig, who I've said before, despite being the kind of anti-dive character, has a hard time peeling for herself.
Yeah, it can be really hard. You know, that shield bash is pretty much your only mobility, and once it's gone, that's a big part of your survivability out of there. So being antied with that is definitely a tall order to ask for survivability.
And we are a little bit down on the old ult economy here, seeing 4 ults coming up on the enemy team, answered maybe by our High Noon, maybe our Nanoblade soon. But maybe we can just sustain through these ultimates that hopefully they'll waste a bit and use our Nanoblade to break through. But unfortunately, Rage is going to get taken out in that Terra Surge, and the enemy team is just going to be swinging that corner, trying to get more cooldowns, more value out of us. The High Noon coming out. Are we able to find anything? It's a difficult sight line to throw it down, but hey, you got to try something.
Nitrous Oxide just in such a difficult position to displace. Here comes the Dragon Blade. We managed to anti it and get the sleep, but the deflect unfortunately prevented it. We did get the kill in the back though, and we are up. We are down Otzel, which is a very sad pick to be down, but we are up player-wise. Unfortunately, Hooter Scooter is going to be able to find Nyx too, which is going to even it up and make it even harder for us to push. 30 seconds left on the clock. We've got a rally coming up soon. We have a Blade coming up soon, and we could build another Graviton Surge from Otzel there. It's all about playing slow and using these ultimates as soon as we can to really get the ball rolling and push past one of these impossible chokes.
And here comes the Nanoblade with the bubble coming out. The Wuyong ult able to peel for the Sojourn, and just going back in probably with that double slide perk finds Rage when he does not expect it. And we are just going to be down 1, not able to take the pressure from their ultimates, and it looks like we're getting pushed into our spawn. A big eat out of the enemy Orisa to stop that grav, and we are just going to find ourselves down here, and that is going to be map 2 for Miami, Ohio.
Incredible reaction speed from there out of Miami. I mean, you can tell that they were calling to look for that blade, right? It's something you can anticipate, even if it is tricky, without the benefit of having that God Ana positioning, right? Just on a high ground where you're so hard to displace. It becomes really, really hard. And again, this is one of these examples where that Ana nade from heaven just comes in to save the game. And even when we were up, lend itself to a huge multi-kill for the enemy teams. You know, it's not what I would say. It's not an Ana diff, as someone would say. I think it's a matter of the positioning that you have and the situation you have, right? So we started out on Winston, which is maybe one of the better tank options if you are trying to displace an Ana a little bit. But like you said, on that second point there, that's probably his biggest point of struggle on the map. I think the swap to Zarya from Otzel was probably an informed decision, but we do need to recognize that we are giving up that ability to displace those super powerful backline characters, and relying on Genji is sometimes really tough. It's a very tall order to expect one of your DPS to not only be able to make it to the back line, but live there long enough to really put the pressure on. It was really strong positioning and a very solid defense from Miami. I think our pushes we were getting the right idea, but then these wild cards come out, right? Like having Ana on the high ground, looking for those picks on the back. And honestly, it's an amazing amount of control displayed to not look to anti-3 and just to look to get the one pick you need, but that's what they needed to eventually run out the clock and keep us held. Exactly.
It's the in a vacuum, Zarya into Orisa favors the Zarya, right? You've got easier access to your cooldowns. Your bubbles come up more often than her fortify and her spin. Her spin doesn't doing anything against you. You can just continue shooting through. But I've been playing a bit of Zarya myself recently, and it doesn't feel very good right now.
Yeah.
It feels like even though I'm permanently high charge, and I feel like I should be able to beam down that Orisa, Fortify reduces the damage enough, and Armor does reduce beam damage as well. And if you're not able to get around them and deal with their supports, that horse isn't dying anytime soon.
Yeah.
So there's many times that you can be the one that is being countered on tank, or on any role for that matter, and still it is the correct decision for the team play. So that second point, I don't know if, like you said, Winston is very good at controlling that high ground, and that first high ground is a little difficult for Winston. You know, you got to jump through pretty predictably through those tiny keyholes. but would it have been a better play than our Zarya, especially since we don't have our Reaper that we're a little bit more practice on? Difficult to say. You know, the hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
You know, I called it out that it was going to be a big pick because it is an on-paper counter. But when we're just shoved in this little choke the whole time, those bubbles don't get you very far.
Something that's worth considering too with Zarya in this setting is, you know, every hero to them has this little caveat, right? Of how they are played in a setting when you know 5 people are communicating, right?
Yep.
In a ranked situation, this is a super strong pick. It's a pick that can work. It's a pick that enables yourself. In a situation like this, though, you have to consider that things like bubble management are going to be very well telegraphed to the team. Instances where you might normally be able to expect in ranked and quick play, whatever, or even in scrims where you'd be able to survive or anticipate an ability, become really tricky to do. Teams know not only when do you have bubbles, but how many you have and what they need to do to get them out. And all of that metagame is happening in a very small area for us to work with.
Yep.
And it's just worth considering that sometimes, you know, that's the disadvantage of certain heroes. This is probably a reason why we don't see a lot of like Doomfist, right?
Yep.
In
Those
this setting,
that thrive in the chaos don't do well in coordinates.
Exactly, right. So when your Doom is flying around the map, getting picks 1-2, stunning people, killing people that they can't communicate, well, now they can communicate. And the moment you move, it's going to be everybody's going to get let know.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
We are looking at Rialto for our third map with Tracer and Zarya bans. So it'll be interesting to see what we do about not having our kind of traditional, our classic bread and butter of Reaper Zarya. It is with our with the hero bans. It's proven to be very difficult to play that comp, especially since we do telegraph it pretty well, and it is just very strong right now. But rolling out on the D.Va versus the Ball, you know, one of my favorite characters, we'll see how we deal with the enemy Pharah Mercy as well. This has been a while since we've seen a Pharah Mercy in a coordinated game like this. So that Ball is going to go behind and look for a big slam.
If there was going to be a map to not have access to Zarya, I guess I'd pick Rialto. Since we do have that D.Va option, and we managed to have some success 2 days ago once we played Ohio on this map, so we're hoping to copy that again. So far, no one's fallen down. Otzel's really low, Anti on the top here, but is going to survive and get up. Pharmacy in the back there. There's just so much pressure coming from the sky, from the ground, everywhere, and that Ball just does not die.
And you can see Otzel is having a hard time maintaining his health because there's so much pressure on our backline here that Rose is just trying to do anything that she can to live and doesn't have time to be able to peek around and heal up our tank. And we can see we have to give up that space because of it, and we all end up stacked in the same place, get slammed by 5, get those damage-boosted rockets.
Yeah.
So much splash damage. Lamp isn't going to do much for us.
And yeah, those rockets combined with Genji Dash is just an insane amount of burst to handle. Something that we are struggling with is expansion, right? Finding a comfortable position that isn't right behind the tank or that isn't right next to someone else, right? There are a lot of cases where you want that to be the case, a lot of times when you want to stay close, but versus teams like these, you know, having a little bit of wiggle room and some breathing room so that you're not constantly taking splash damage helps a lot, and that comes from anti-nade, that comes from Wrecking Ball's slam. Looks like, yeah, this Pharmacy is just going to dominate over the top here, when unfortunately they can fly on the roofs and slide off and stall.
With a Ball and a Pharah, it's really difficult to predict where they're going to be coming from. So EMU is just having a hard time finding out where the fight is even going to take place. And by the time we really get our feet underneath us, we've already been barraged, both of our backline going down to that barrage. Not really much you can do about it if you have no idea where that Pharah Mercy is coming from.
So much pressure being put on our stabilization, causing us to use cooldowns, causing us to use abilities. You know, I'm noticing Otzel still has a lot of defense matrix and a lot of boosters when we need to go after this Pharah, but by that point it's usually kind of too late. It's, you know, it's a lot to ask, and the blade is going to come out, but Aurora's going to manage to stop that with a well-placed nade. That's going to give us not only a pick, but an important ultimate down off there. Otzel going for the self-destruct. Manages to find the Wrecking Ball with it too, but is going to die to Ana in the process. I still like this 4v3 situation that we've got, and it's going to give us a little bit of time to kind of hold, reset here, and approach this new one more time at the choke.
And we can see that enemy Ball did not like die into that that Diva Bomb. But you know what? I'll take it. That's going to be a big mines and peak from the Pharah Mercy, finding Aurora and Rage, both of our DPS going down. Rose able to get the lamp out, but it's not going to be enough. We're stacked on those stairs. One concussion sends our entire team flying. We've really got to be listening for those boosters. We should be able to hear them. We should know that she's going to be coming from a weird angle. It's just hard to do if you're so used to looking down main.
This is the kind of speed that's so tricky to deal with, right? Even not even looking at composition, just the amount of sustain and not even sustain with the Mercy and Ball, but just the speed at which their whole team can get to where they need to be to put the hurt on is really important. Is a big aspect of how things are going. Defense Rejects trying to prevent the barrage there, but unfortunately the angle just doesn't make it quite work. Wrecking Ball is pretty low in our back, and the Pharah is cut off, but finds her Mercy and connects again, making it difficult for Otzel to pursue.
And the lamp does come out, but Rose unfortunately is picked by that Pharah rocket as well. That's just so much damage coming out. I believe that previous barrage was nano boosted and damage boosted, and maybe even one rocket found its way through that defense matrix and was able to find its target.
Yeah, that's all it was needed.
We are just finding ourselves defending our third point here. Getting the wall out, but we have no other ults to follow it up with. We might be able to live long enough that we can sustain. Finding that Genji, the enemy team deciding that we're going to just reset. EMU, looking for a P here. The first P that we've seen all tournament. Interesting. I don't know what happened.
Interesting. The whole lobby disconnected.
That's yeah. We are looking at a little bit of an NA servers moment.
Yeah, it's an NA moment.
Yeah,
if I've ever seen one. Yep.
This is in fact a video game. You don't see a lot of football players DCing from the field.
No, that'd be kind of weird. Maybe in FIFA, maybe in Madden, but yeah, no. In real life, it's be odd to see someone just kind of stand still and do nothing until their Wi-Fi got better. It's kind of something you don't have to expect, but kind of gives us an opportunity to slow down here.
That's so true, Nix. If we had PvE, this never would have happened. That's a truth nuke.
Yep.
That is a truth nuke.
I couldn't agree more. This would have been fixed.
But now the pause is always a little bit of a weird one because there's so much momentum and so much tension and everything.
Yeah.
And then having it just like literally freeze, it always feels very weird to, it's like starting and stopping a game is kind of getting on and off the expressway.
Yeah, and of course, teams are going to strategize here. It's not against the rules. There's only so much we can do when pauses like this happen, when mistakes like this happen, right? But teams are still going to talk, and they're still going to try and figure out what to do, and this may be a benefit for us. Having a moment to just kind of only think about what we want our plan on attack to be, how we want to kind of look at the rest of this defense, if there is such thing as the rest of this defense, which there may be. We may have another shot.
I've seen and I've been held third point, but we're already
looks like
going
we're
back
gonna go
in.
check it out. Let's go.
See what is going on after this. Quaker Oatmeal squares. I agree. Looking to just reset and take another fight. Both teams needing to get back up to speed after that pause.
This can be a difficult third point to capture. I mean, there's sort of this natural choke here. There are many ways to go in, but this Pharah, notably, is not going to find as much help. Rage, unfortunately, taken out by some incredible burst damage. Ball just swinging in, getting that landing so difficult. Not lost yet, though. We still have the time to bring him back. Ball's looking for a big mines out in the middle, and that Blade is going to come up, find Aurora. The nade is going to find Nyx, and it's just going to be too much for us to handle. A little bit of the ult economy favoring the enemy team. Otzel just deciding, you know what, I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet. Just not letting this point go. Just drain as much time out of them as we can. Rose going down to that ball, but Aurora finding that Genji, but the barrage comes out and is able to take out both Otzel and Rage. And we're just trying to delay that point. 2 minutes, 22 seconds left on the attack clock for Miami, Ohio. That's gonna be tough to beat. Yeah, and every second counts in moments like these, right? So when we see these last-ditch plays to get the clock to run out, I'm really happy when I see it because it means we're not rolling over, right? We're not showing our belly. We're not saying, okay, you guys are gonna win. You know, we're showing that we're sticking out to the best and trying to build an advantage. So by drawing off that time, it leaves us with a little more opportunity to try and come back and make our own push if we make it to the end game situation. But you know, ifs are not really what we want to cover here. We want want to think in the terms of when it does happen that we manage to make an incredible push past people.
Absolutely.
Do we have the advantage there because of how we played previously, right? Never giving up, always giving your 100%, always treating every game like it's winnable is such an important part of making it through a series like this.
But you know what what I would like to see in games like this where we are, we're 0-2, third map, we've been full capped. I want to see some high risk, high reward plays. High risk, high reward. I don't want to see just the slow traditional, like keeping yourself safe, going from cover to cover. I want to see some wacky stuff come out. I want to see us TP a Reinhardt into their backline. That's a classic out there for some of our watchers. TP in that Reinhardt and Bastion around. Ooh, good memories.
Speaking of wacky, we are seeing a variation of what we were talking about earlier, that invincible tank poke kind of comp, where you've got this Roadhog that's just so difficult to kill, and then you've got these DPS that can stay super far away and always put out a bunch of damage. Lucio going for a boop there, not going to make it. Hog looking for a hook, also not going to make it. Trying to get silly on us, but we know better. The enemy Widow trying to see if they can find anybody, but they may be a bit too far back to be relevant in this first fight, so we may just get the card around the corner pretty easily.
They are running double sniper, which means that we should be able to take their high grounds pretty well. They don't have a lot of presence around them. They want to be keeping that distance. And on D.Va, if we get some good packs from our Brig, some good nades from our Ana, maybe even a TP to follow up a fly. See, there's the TP that I was talking about. Let's do something weird, guys. We can take that space. That Hog is still going to anchor on point, but he's a lot more isolated from his team.
His team is really juicy behind him there, and I think that's the plan.
We may just want to swing and kill all of those squishies before we swing back and kill that Hog. He's a lot easier to kill if he doesn't have that Ana. But right now, we are just kind of confirming that high ground, not making a lot of plays after it. We're the dog that caught the mail truck. We finally got that high ground. We don't really know what to do with it now.
I really support Nyx making a stand here, going super far forward, acting like that team's tank, right? The Lucio and Hog are managing to put a lot of pressure on the point and prevent it from moving, which has us in a really hard decision. And unfortunately, that hook, that oh-so-balanced hook, is going to bring Aurora in for a unfortunate one-shot.
We have their team so incredibly split that we really just need to go on that back line. There's really no reason why we should just be sitting there with our hands just sitting around while they've got an exposed backline. That Hog is not helping anybody. Their Lucio isn't there for peel. And unfortunately, Rose is going to get picked out, falling off of high ground. And EMU is just going to get forced back into our spawn. If we don't eventually kill this Hog, like the life grip comes out, saving that Hog.
Still down there, Lou, but unfortunately that Widow's just going to find Aurora at the wrong time. No hook on Hog, still has Breather available though, and may be forced to use it pretty soon in order to survive. That Life Weaver tree though, definitely a big help. Otzel forced to pop the self-destruct just to get another remake, I assume. Bob going to take out Nyx, Rose falling to another one of those 2x critical hit shots that we love so much out of Roadhog.
And the Bob comes out and finds Nyx as well, but we don't have a lot of coordination. We have their team so split that we really do need to be doing something about isolating a target. That Widow, that Ashe, that Life Weaver. If we look at them, they should be dying. Unfortunate hook coming out on Rage, putting the TP so close to the edge there. Makes it difficult. Rose getting a nade off, killing that Hog. The enemy Lucio going down as well. Otzel in the backline trying to make something happen. We do have, I believe, numbers advantages here. That's not very much health there, Otzel. Play safe, buddy. But you are good. You are good. The only health that matters is the last one.
Exactly.
That's what I always say.
Yeah, super crucial comm out of Rose there. Not only getting that extremely good sleep and ability combo on the Roadhog, but also calling for that line of sight of Reaper. Going to be super important. Roadhog is trying to displace Otzel here on the high ground and is going to try and hold here, but we might just be able to push it past this first point. And there we go. We do manage to sneak it by as the Roadhog steps off point, and our pressure has finally come to a point where we can move out. Aurora pops the high noon, manages to find Sire. We've traded once again, but I like our position here. They're kind of forced to back off as we move the cart down Rialto second.
Absolutely. And the Hog is going to just be wandering. You know, that's something that he loved to do in Overwatch 1, but he still likes to do it in Overwatch 2 because he can just, it's speed boost on heal is such a stupid thing. I don't need to see a fat man running at Mach 8 around the map. The beat coming out of Miami, Ohio, and able to take out Aurora for it. Rose getting separated and getting taken out as well. Nyx trying anything that they can to just live. Otzel may be able to make it out. Here comes the hook. The hook misses. Ooh, lucky, lucky, lucky. And we are going to have to go for a reset here. We do have Nano and Rally. We might be able to make something happen here. They it's only answered by their Bob, probably Tree as well.
Yeah, not losing mech there was definitely big. Going to give us a little bit of that precious time on the clock that we need to reset. And we've got another fight going here now. Looks like they're off the Widow onto Echo, which is going to relieve a little bit of that pressure off of Aurora, I think. But the Echo is still a bit of a dangerous pick. Oh, and the Lucio manages to prevent the combo from Roadhog there, but unfortunately the Bob and the remaining pressure might be too much for us to handle. This Rally super low. Nyx unable to survive in it. So hard to do with the Bob staring at your team.
Then the Roadhog just knows that he can sit in the backline, hide, and just eventually get a pick on our backline. If one pick can really be the difference maker. So if we're going to be looking to trade backlines like that, we really need to convert on kills. The Hog doing a little spin trick for us, getting a little silly here.
Otzel managed to find the Echo
under the map.
Oh, yeah, wow. Sort of weird positioning out of Aurora there, strange. Yeah, the Hog is doing a great job of realizing that he's in no rush, right?
Yep.
He can wait for the hook, he can wait for the shots, he doesn't need to play overly aggressive, he doesn't need to look for the pick first every time, he can let the team sort of surround him, and then he's got his pick of the litter, right? He can choose anybody he wants. Looks like that TP is going to go down from Rage and hopefully get the team up on the high ground there. Fortunately, On is going to find Aurora and shut them down. Roadhog's going to destroy that teleporter. Oh, is going to get slept here, actually, and the Briggs comes through. Is the Honor Brig going to be able to defeat this Roadhog while he's antied? He's definitely
low.
low.
Keep Rose alive at least, but maybe not kill that Roadhog. That whole Hog coming out is going to roast our mech. Not enough DM to keep it up. That Hog is 1 health. The High Noon comes out and punishes with just stack and stable, and we should be able to convert this into space. With their Hog going down, that is so much pressure off of our backline specifically. Nyx unfortunately going down to that Echo. We are trading 1 for 1. Seeing the Doomfist come out of Miami, Ohio for the overtime touch here. We've got some ults on the board. We should be able to convert them into some more space.
This could be a pick we can abuse here. You know, a lot of people go Doom for speed, but they really did have the time to come back on anything they wanted. Unfortunately, that Sire, that Echo, is going to be able to just blast right through us, find a couple really important picks on our DPS. Rose is going to fall next, and unfortunately, it looks like that's Nyx out. Lastly, we've got Otzel, demeched, trying to touch one more time, and with their final breath, they will go out, and that will be the 3rd map for Miami.
That is unfortunate for EMU, but honestly, a pretty strong showing. We're making space. We're getting those points capped. We're improving every day.
We're getting farther every time we see in these games, which is really great. We've been seeing it on King's Row, going from getting pretty much full held to taking it down to mid-second, right? We've seen it on Rialto, where we initially struggled to get past first, but we eventually do break through and make the space. And importantly, you know, outside of the actual goals we're meeting in game, we're meeting a lot of team goals, right? That communication to have Nyx come back through the teleporter to help fight the Roadhog, I think was definitely the right call. And he may not have gone right away, but getting that reposition down and making sure that your Ana wasn't vulnerable and was able to stay in was super, super important. And it was no doubt what allowed Aurora to kind of walk up freely and use that High Noon to pick that Hog out, right?
Absolutely.
So those kind of calls that we're making are really, really good. They're making a lot of opportunity for us to continue to really be relevant in these matches.
Absolutely, and it's interesting that you call out the comms from that specifically, because that was 100% Rose calling out that Hog, needing that help. Rose has always been one of the strongest people on the comms, just across. Even when she was playing JV last year, honestly, I would rank her above some of the communicators on our varsity team at that point. Has always been very, very strong with those comms, and amazing for Nyx to be able to react and get back through a teleporter, to be able to deal with that communication. You know, communication is two-way. You can say all the comms that you want, and you can be calling out perfect every single ult track, perfectly predict every fight. But if your team's not listening to you, your voice is literally falling on deaf ears.
Yeah, and I want our teams to know too that they are capable of this really intelligent decision making in a more fast-paced and chaotic game, right? I'd love to see what we can do. Should we add a little more aggression and a little more confidence to our plays, expanding out a little bit further, because that's just more options, right? That's more doors. So being in, there's sort of a benefit to being kind of really tight and really cornered and having to play super careful, where those moments become not more obvious but more glaring that that teams can capitalize on, and it's amazing that we did. But I want to see us do that even crazier. I want to see us do that on the fly in these tense fights, in these tense moments. A lot of swing, a lot of pressing W, and I think we absolutely can.
Yeah, what I've noticed on a kind of a team-wide, and it really was exemplified in this map, is that if you're ever in a Ramatra duel, and you pop Nemesis at the same time, and you're both sitting there, it's just you finishing out the fight. A lot of Ramatras will immediately go for, I need to live, I'm going to block, right? But if it's just you, and both teams have the same resources, like when we were mirrored on Lijiang, both teams have the same resources, everything else being equal, if you're blocking and on the back foot being defensive, you're never going to knock over the opponent, right? It's always going to be, you might delay how long it takes for you to get knocked over, which is good, but it doesn't matter if you can withstand for 1,000 years. If you never throw a punch back, then they're never going to fall over either.
Definitely. And there's a huge line and difference between defensive and defending, right?
Yes.
So defending sort of implies a level of aggression, right? Like you're on the high grounds, you're holding a point, you're keeping things really tight, and you're saving your space. But defensive, well, playing defensive kind of encourages the enemies to play aggressive, right? There's a lot of times where we're looking for cover and we're feeling a little too much pressure, so we all kind of find the same corner and the same piece of cover. Yep. And ironically, what that does, like a signal flare to the enemy team, that here we all are in a tight little spot that you can just collapse on, and there are teams out there that would give that grace and that would not make that push, and there are certainly ways to make a reset possible, but some thought has to go into where do we need to be scary. We need to show our feathers and say, even if we do need HP for a minute, even if we do need a chance to sit, we gotta be like, we also can hurt you back. Part of that, so finding that line is going to be really, really important. We want to have a defending mindset, right? We're keeping our space for ourselves, but we also want to take theirs, and maybe and not lean so into the kind of like they move forward, we move back, because they'll just keep moving forward. Yeah,
there's a certain amount of push and pull of they ask for space, and we give it up, so that they burn resources, and then we can retake that space. They don't have any resources, we can just walk over them. Right. But the problem with that is that we have to have space to give up. If we don't take space aggressively early and have that kind of resource that we can trade space, which is ultimately what the entire game is about, is space. If we don't trade that kind of secret resource of space to keep ourselves safe, the only thing that we can do is trade our HP, and we just end up dying.
Right.
So you got to be aggressive so that you can be defensive when you need to be. But we are going to take a quick look at our upcoming stream schedule. You saw Miami, Ohio today in Overwatch. Next week against Akron, and then followed up on October 1st. Spooky month. Halloween's coming. Oh, Jaden, can we do some spooky stuff for Halloween? I would
we'll
love
get we'll get some edits, a new emote, something like that in there.
I'm
nice spooky music.
Rose is also on the graphic design team. Rose does so much in esports. I'm gonna maybe I'll pair off a little bit to make us some spooky graphics to put on stream.
We could do a picture of Release Brig in the background.
Oh,
just so real.
don't scare me like that.
Yeah, whoops.
But October 1st, Rocket League against Ohio University. And then next day, of course, Overwatch versus Buffalo. And then next week after that, Ball State in Overwatch. Tune in to all those streams, but especially extra tune in to those Overwatch ones. That's what you're here
100%.
for. More Winston. We did see Winston today.
We
saw
see
some
Winston. I knew we would.
I love
How
my
amazing.
Winston.
Fantastic.
It comes full circle, and every stream with Winston. Maybe I'll get Aurora to bring in their plush Winton. Actually has one of the Winton dolls.
Nice.
I think it's a recreation,
Yeah.
not one of the original, but Winton.
For sure.
I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna equip all my Halloween skins. It's time.
You know what? That's a really good idea. I gotta bust out Junkenstein, but I gotta bust out Junkenstein's monster. You know what my favorite one is?
Which one?
The sleeper one is the Headless Farah.
That is
Headless
a good one.
Farah is definitely, I mean, hey, pay to win. Think about it, no head.
Exactly. I really like that one with the highlight intro where she takes off her helmet and
Yep,
kind of
yep.
and zooms in and there's nothing there.
That's classic.
It's very funny.
That's really good.
But that's going to be it for today's stream. Thanks for tuning in, guys. You got to see some Winston today. Tune in again next week to see more Winston. More Winston. You know, that old SNL skit, I need more cowbell. I need more Winston.
We do need more Winston,
I have a fever.
He took Kings first. We need more.
We need more Winston. Win, done.
Win, done.
Bye, gamers.
See ya.
Bye.